Welcome to The Crossing. My name is Joey Harris and I'm your online minister. Thank you so much for joining with us, and we're so glad you decided to be a part of service. We're in our 17th week of our current series called Believe, and Clayton Hentzel, our campus pastor from Macomb, will be teaching us about biblical community. But before Clayton preaches, we're going to spend some time as one church worshiping God. Have a great service.
Well, how's everybody doing today? You guys doing all right? Glad to see each and every single one of you here. I'd like to welcome all of you who are joining at our different locations. So to those of you up in Macomb, to those of you over in Kirksville at 929, in Pittsfield, in Hannibal, in Lima, in Mount Sterling, in Keokuk, to, of course, all of you over in Paducah, Kentucky. We love you a ton. I also want to do a shout out to all of you who are watching through the Crossing online. We're excited about you guys partnering with us. To those of you who are watching through thecrossing.tv and you're kind of huddled together and trying to start a church through where you're at, to those of you who are watching on the inside, very pumped to see all the baptisms that God's been doing through Chris Schaefer and his team there at the inside up at Mount Sterling and also over at the Clayton Work Camp. To those of you who don't know, the Crossing Inside is our ministry to inmates, and we can't wait for those who are worshiping at the Crossing Inside to get to worship with us here on the outside. Also, you guys can clap for that. I can't wait. To those of you, who am I missing? I'm trying to think. I did online. You know, it's like the ABCs now. You try and remember all these campuses in order. It gets complicated. I can't wait till one day we have so many campuses we can't even mention them. We just go, you know. And that's it. We just move on past that. Well, for those of you who are first-time guests at the Crossing, at all of our different locations, we're so glad that you're here. My name is Clayton Hentzel. I have the privilege of being the campus pastor up in Macomb. Our senior pastor, Jerry Harris, is allowing me to preach for the next 2 weeks. So if you hate it, you'll really like it when he gets here, and he would love to see you. When he texted me, he said, "Hey, Clayton, over the next 2 weeks, if you guys could double the church and pay off all the debt, that'd be great." I texted back, "I'll just plan on us still being a church when you get around." Anyhow, glad you guys are all here. 2 things on the front end. If you have not downloaded the Crossing app yet, make sure you do that. There's going to be some cool stuff coming up, and we want to get you connected with that as soon as possible, and that's available on all your different devices. And I'd encourage you, if you do that, to turn on notifications. That way we can just send some cool stuff right to your phone. If you wanted to, while you're turning off your phones at all of our locations, you could go ahead and begin downloading it. Jesus would be okay with that. I don't have any. Second thing is, next week I have an incredible announcement that I get to make. They're telling me I can't make it this week, even though I want to. Yeah, stinks to be you. All the people who skip tonight, when they show up next week, they'll be like, all right. But listen, next week I get to tell you about something unbelievably cool getting ready to happen at the Crossing at all of our locations. It's going to be fantastic. So make sure that you guys get here or pay attention to what's going on next week. Well, yeah, no hints. I'm not giving any. Not giving, but it's serious. I'm joking. It's just cool. You'll like it, I promise. Nothing to be freaking out about. Don't go to Facebook and start a conspiracy theory. It's just going to be awesome. I'm just the hype man, okay? I'm just hyping it up. Anyhow, to those of you who are first-time guests, why we're here is because we've fallen in love with Jesus Christ. And we want other people to fall in love with him as well. So at all of our locations, if you're ready for hearing a little bit about Jesus tonight, let me hear a whoop, whoop. All right, let's get going. Well, last week, Jerry Harris took a break from the Believe sermon series. And we did a one-off sermon, and it was all about everyone reach one. One person reach another person. One family reach another family. One small group reach another small group. One community reach out to another community. Everyone reach one. And I am so thankful for that sermon. That's going to be the banner over the Crossing Church for 2016. Everyone reach one. And I'm hoping you would do that. I got a text message from a girl in my small group, and before she even went to the sermon, her goal for 2016 is every single week she's going to try and get someone to come to church with her. It's a big deal. You want to know why that's a big deal? Everyone reach one's personal to me. In 2007, we started the Macomb campus. I got an email in my inbox from a lady who came to the 48th Street campus. And she said, "I'm going to bring 2 people to church on your opening weekend that are from Macomb." And she gave me the name of those 2 girls. And so I started praying for those 2 girls. Well, on opening weekend, those 2 girls were there. One of them got really serious about the Lord Jesus Christ. She started her relationship with him there. She got baptized there, started helping out in our benevolence ministry, started helping out in our student ministry, and her daughter got baptized there, and then she became my wife. I was not the one who invited my wife to church. That was somebody else. Everyone reach one. And who knows how many people's lives have been impacted by Jennifer. If I'm tolerable to be around, it's because she takes care of all the bad stuff so I can just be sweet to everybody else. I'm telling you, you have no idea what's in the person you're reaching. You have no idea. My personal prayers in Macomb that there won't be 150 baptisms this year, but 150 different people in the baptistry. What if it wasn't just pastors and small group leaders, but it was like you and you going, yeah, I met this person at the gas station, told them about Jesus, they want to get baptized, so here we are. Everybody has to learn how to dunk appropriately, like get them all the way under, no halvesy baptisms. Wouldn't it be awesome if that was something that you were trying to figure out, like, you know what, I reached this person for Jesus and they found him. But anyhow, that's not what the sermon's about. Sermon's about, we're going back to the Believe sermon series because at the Crossing, we believe that what you believe matters, that it impacts the way you live and how you go about your daily life, that it's going to impact what you do for eternity. What you believe matters. And today we're jumping back into that sermon series and we're going to talk about biblical community because we believe that biblical community matters. It was never God's intention for you to do life alone. It just wasn't. In fact, biblical community is important to God. Did you know that God himself is a community? In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, it says this, and God said, let us make man in our image. God is so cool, he's his own community. And you know it's biblical because it's God. But you have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit all in community saying, let us make man in our image. But there's something even crazier that happens right after that. God makes man, and we have a guy by the name of Adam who is in the very presence of God. The Bible says, walked with him in the cool of the day, spoke with him as you would speak to another man. That is the kind of relationship he had with God. And do you know what God said? In that incredible relationship between him and Adam, do you know what God said? That will tell you how important biblical community is to your spiritual growth. It is not good for man to be alone. And so God made woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. It was never God's intention for you to do life alone. In fact, how did you get here? You got here because of community. In God's grand scheme of things, you are born into a community. God's plan is for one man and one woman to get married and make a lasting covenant relationship with one another. And then it is out of that relationship that they're allowed to participate in activities that bring about babies. Everybody tracking. And then when that baby is born, they are brought into the world with a father and a mother. They are born into community. Have you ever met somebody and you find out that part of the story is that they didn't have a dad around or they didn't have a mom around, and isn't there a part of you that just hurts for them? Maybe you ran into somebody and they're grown and they just are acting a fool and you're just like, where was this kid's parents when he was growing up, only to find out that the parents were absentee or not involved. There's a part of you that hurts when that happens because wired inside of you is a desire for people to have family, for them to have community. God's desire is that for you to be in biblical community. And the first biblical community is the family. But biblical community can be traced all throughout Scripture. In the Old Testament, some of the most significant events that happen in the Old Testament happen in the context of biblical community. There's David and his mighty men. When you read about Daniel in Persia taking on the king, it's not just Daniel, but it's also Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When the Israelites are delivered from Egypt, it's not just Moses. It's Moses and Aaron. When there's a battle taking place, it's Aaron and Hur that are holding up Moses' hands. That some of the best ministry that ever happens in the context of biblical community. In the New Testament, when Jesus starts his ministry, do you know what he starts it with? 12 dudes. Like the God of the universe decides to start his ministry, it should tell you how important biblical community is to him, because what does he do? He goes, got to get myself some 12 dudes to hang out with. When he sends them out to do ministry, does he send them out to do ministry alone? He sends them out 2 by 2. When you read about what the apostles did in the New Testament, you always read about them in pairs. It's Peter and John on the way to pray. It's Paul and Silas. It's Paul and Barnabas. Ministry is always happening in the context of community. And when you get to Revelation, do you know what you see? You see a picture of every person from every tribe, from every language, from every tongue, gathered in perfect biblical community. In fact, every part of your life has been designed for you to operate in biblical community. I'm selling hard. I hope you guys are paying attention. I'm trying to make a really strong point. You were designed by God himself to operate in community. That's why this week our key idea is I fellowship with Christians to accomplish God's purpose in my life and in the life of others and the world. For Christmas this year, now that the Christmas stuff is over, me and my wife every year we fight over Christmas presents for what we're going to get our kids. I am of the correct opinion that when it comes to little kids, you don't get them a bunch of gifts, you get them like 2, because that's all they're going to play with. They're going to play with their 2 favorites, and they're done. And you don't get anything small that you can step on, trip on. My wife is the one who did all the shopping, so we got what she likes to get the kids, which is bunches of small things that you can step on and hurt your feet. Now, out of coolness, these things that she got my kids are actually unbelievably awesome. I feel like David Copperfield. It's gone. Okay, no. All right. Anyhow, there's something unbelievably cool about these wood blocks. Now, if you only just look at one wood block all day long, there's nothing cool about it. And when I opened the gift, I was like, that's what you got our kids? Wood blocks? Like, is this the Stone Age? What's going on, babe? Then I come to find out that all these wood blocks are magnetic. Now what? Yeah, they put magnets, they come from magnet trees, okay? You have to cut them just right. Very hard, they're endangered. We have to be, whatever you guys can do, okay? Sarah McLaughlin music, cue it now. Okay, that was wrong and I apologize. Now, these wood blocks are designed to be in community. One wood block by itself, no good. And you'd never know this unless you put this wood block next to another wood block. Everybody tracking with me? I've got other colors if you want to see the other colors. That's why my hips look so wide in this. Yeah. These things are unbelievable. You can just play with them all day long. You guys can buy these, I don't know where, but they're cool. And the reason they're cool is because they're designed for community. No one would be going, hey, where do you get that? This thing's awesome. If you had one block, you would immediately want what? Yeah. Oh, 3 by 3. There's 9 there. Okay? That is actually how you were hardwired. That's how you were put together. You wouldn't know that. That inside of you somewhere is this community magnet that God has designed to put you in relationship with other people, because it's in that relationship that all sorts of wonderful things happen. And some of you might be tricked into thinking that what happens here at a weekend at all of our locations is biblical community. It is good, but it is not the best expression of biblical community. What happens here on a weekend is described by God. It's prescribed by God. This is a part of what He wants for you and part of God's perfect will for your life. This is important, but this is not the best expression of biblical community. Going to church, showing up for service is not enough if you want to be the person that God created you to be. What we do at all of our weekend services is kind of like a huddle. That's what it is. It's like the big huddle before you snap the play. Now, I've been to a lot of sporting events, but I've never had anybody go, shh, shh, they're huddling. Watch this. They put all the fat guys in the back. They put all the skinny, fast people in the front. Then the quarterback yells at all. Isn't that awesome? Now watch. They're going to put their hands in this. Oh, yeah, they're high-fiving each other. Did you see that? That was nobody. Now, I'll see them talk about a touchdown. I'll see them talk about, did you see that block? I'll talk about, did you see that pass? Right? But I've never seen anybody go on and on because nobody cares about the huddle. You think the people outside of our church care what we're doing this weekend? No. They're interested in what happens after the huddle. When I show up at a football game, I want them to take care of business in that huddle so when they get to the line of scrimmage, they can do something awesome. And when you leave the church at all of our locations, you are getting up to the line of scrimmage. And if you don't show up for the huddle, you don't know what play you're running, and someone gets sacked, and then you're like, really? We were all trying to run the wrong play, and then there was you just walking around. I don't need no huddle. Yeah, Billy, get over here. Get right there. So we can move together as a team. Church is important, but it is not the best expression of biblical community. Paul writes, he says, don't forsake the assembly of believers as some are in the habit of doing. At all of our locations, we have multiple services, online experiences, and there's no reason for you not to stay current with what we're about. But if you think if you think this is biblical community, you're missing out. Real biblical community is best expressed in small groups and D groups. You see, you need to be around like-minded people pursuing God together because biblical community is God's way of caring for you. A small group at our church is a bunch of guys and girls getting together to learn about God. A D group is a bunch of dudes getting together or a bunch of girls getting together. Because you can talk about some stuff if you take your spouse with you, but you can talk about other stuff if your spouse isn't around. If there's some stuff you like, if you're struggling with things, there's stuff that guys are going to feel more comfortable talking about with just guys, stuff that girls are going to be feeling more comfortable talking about with just girls, and then sometimes you're just like, babe, I just want us to be in a group together. But it's in the context of biblical community that God cares for you the best. Listen to what it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Guys, at all of our locations, when you go home tonight, just turn the thermostat down really, really low. You want to keep warm? Okay? Just throwing that out there, all you married folk. Like I was in church today, it said that, how can you be warm all by yourself over there, sweetie? I'll be right over. That's why I'm not losing weight, because I'm able to I'm so much warmer now as a stinking moose, okay? The Bible's saying, pity the person. Do you hear that? Pity the person who is doing life alone, because there's no one to help him when he falls. But he's saying, man, if you are in biblical community, good things are in store for you. In my experience at all of our locations, I want you to look at my face. I'm being serious. In all of my experience, 10 years of full-time ministry at the Crossing, I have never, not once, not ever, heard of a person who was in biblical community have a need go unmet. Not kidding. I've seen small groups prepare meals for weeks. I've seen them get together secretly and pool money to take care of somebody who just lost their job to make sure that their family had Christmas and had their bills paid. I've seen small groups show up at hospitals and funeral homes. I have never seen a person who was in a small group or a D group go without, because that is God's way of caring for you. Like when God was putting you together, he was saying, I hope they get involved in a biblical community. I had a person call me one time all mad. No one came. No one came to the hospital and checked in on me. No one came to my house to see how we were doing. Nobody. And I said, well, who's your small group leader? I'm so sorry that happened. Let me call your small group leader and find out where the miscommunication was. And they said, well, I'm not in a small group. I said, oh, okay. Well, talk to me about the ministry leader you have, and I'll figure out what they were doing and why they didn't show up. Well, I'm not involved in ministry. I said, oh, well, that's why no one showed up, because no one knew what you were going through, because no one knows you, because you refuse to be known. Now, how do I put my sweet face? I am not trying to be a fear monger here. Like, if you're not in a group, we don't even like you. That's not us, okay? I'm telling you, if you are wanting me to show up at the hospital, I'm the worst dude. I'll make you laugh while you got stuff poking inside you. I'm horrible. They're like, doctors are like, get Clayton out of here. Get him out. But you know who you do want? You want people who know you and love you and care for you and know actually what's going on and where you live so they can actually mow your lawn. I'm not saying this to guilt trip you or scare you into a small group. I'm saying God's plan was for you to be in community. Because if you're around a community of people, they will love you well. And if you're not, you are taking the risk that you will go through hardship, and you will go through hardship alone. There's nothing better than being in a small group and allowing them to care for you. Another thing is that God uses biblical community to accomplish big tasks. I want you guys to watch this video.
After living in exile in foreign countries for many years, the Israelites were allowed to return to their homeland. As they returned home to their capital city of Jerusalem, they found that the wall that had once protected the city had been completely destroyed. There was an Israelite man named Nehemiah living in Persia as a servant to the king. One day, he received a report from his brother that many Israelites had returned to Jerusalem, but that the wall was in ruins. Nehemiah began weeping, praying that God would forgive the Israelites for the ways they had turned away from God, and that God would help them restore the city. Nehemiah then asked the king of Persia for permission to return to Jerusalem to help the Israelites begin rebuilding the wall. The king agreed, and Nehemiah traveled to Jerusalem. After he arrived back in Jerusalem, Nehemiah visited the wall and thoroughly inspected the ruins. Then he went to the priests and officials of Israel to share his plans. "You see the trouble we are in," Nehemiah said to them. "Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." The officials replied, "Let us start rebuilding." Then, all of the people living in Jerusalem came together to begin work. Israelites from all backgrounds and walks of life joined together in the effort. Priests worked next to warriors. Warriors worked next to merchants, goldsmiths, perfume makers, and people of all other trades. Men women, and families worked side by side to repair not only the wall, but the city gates as well, laying down beams, raising up doors, and putting bolts and bars in place. Through the leadership of Nehemiah and the combined effort of all of the people living in Jerusalem, the entire city wall was rebuilt in only 52 days.
Nehemiah was able to rebuild the wall because he got a bunch of people together who were all committed in the same direction to accomplish a task. When we get in biblical community and we hear from God and we study God's word and we see where God's leading and we follow him there, we're able to do stuff that we could never do by ourselves. Think about all the different locations we have now. All because a group of people were willing to say, let's do this together. Being able to make Paducah a reality was because we were able to say, let's do this together. When we're talking about this year, one at a time, what would it look like for us at all of our different locations to all reach out together to the people in our community so that way other people could find what we found in Jesus? Biblical community is God's way of accomplishing big tasks because sometimes you just can't do it by yourself. Biblical community is also God's way of encouraging you in your walk. The Bible is full of one another passages. Love one another, encourage one another, all those one another passages. In fact, in the New Testament alone, the word one another shows up over 100 times in 94 verses. 47 of them are all about people who are Christ followers and what we're supposed to do for one another. I broke them down. 1/3 are about getting along, which makes sense. If you have to put me around somebody else, you're going to have to teach me how to get along with them. I get that part. 1/3 is about loving one another, which will really help you get along. And 15%, listen to this, are about your attitude toward one another. Because you know what? When you're in a relationship with other people, you learn stuff about them, right? Remember when you got married and all of a sudden you found yourself with your wife and you just didn't know things about her and she definitely didn't know things about you? My wife had no clue how stinky my feet were. 0 clue. She knows now. She has to learn how to be patient with me. Galatians chapter 6, verse 2 says, carry each other's burdens. In this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. God's saying, Clayton, I want you in biblical community because when life gets heavy, I'm going to put some people around you to help you carry it. Clayton, when you're tired of living the Christian life, I'm going to put people around you that are going to be your cheerleaders saying, keep going. Don't give up, Clayton. That's why Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 says this, let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Man, my Christian friends are always rooting for me to be more Christ-like. And friends that are always rooting for me to sin aren't friends. Those are people I can minister to, but I don't have biblical community there. The people I'm in biblical community with, they're always going, Clayton, keep taking the high road. Keep doing what Jesus called you to do. Don't give in to your flesh. Keep focusing on what God's trying to do in you, in your spirit. He's saying, this is how I want you to live. And he's got people around echoing that on a regular basis. Because there's times when you want to quit. There's times when you don't want to do the stuff that God's called you to. And you're going to need a biblical community to cheer for you or to point stuff out that you didn't see in yourself. And you live in biblical community with your family and there's fights because you just didn't know that you had that blind spot, but other people could see it and they begin to address it. Listen to me, biblical community is God's primary way of growing your faith. Much like you raising your child, and as they grow, you give them more responsibility. But as a parent, what do? When they're doing something great, you encourage them. When they're doing something dumb, you say, quit, knucklehead, that ain't right. When you find a relationship with Jesus Christ, that's what he wants for you. He wants to put you in biblical community, so when you're doing things that are right, people are going, way to go, proud of you. And when you're doing something dumb, they're going, hey, stupid, quit. What are you thinking? All for the purpose of helping you become the person that God created you to be. So let me ask you this question, or maybe you're asking this question yourself. So how do I live in biblical community? First thing is your priority should be your relationship with God. You cannot have biblical community without the presence of God. You can't have biblical community with people who don't have an intimate personal relationship with Jesus Christ. You can't be a part of a biblical community unless you have a relationship with Jesus Christ. You can pursue God, but biblical community happens when people who have the Holy Spirit in them get together with other people who have the Holy Spirit in them, and they're able to grow towards Christ, but they're also able to reach out for Christ. Second thing that you need to do is you need to create a biblical environment in your home. That is the first and most important small group. Your home. If there are more than 2 people that live in your house, one of you should be the small group leader. Making sure that the people around you are drawn closer and closer to Jesus Christ. You're going to need to create space in your life. Biblical community takes time. If it's a small group or a D group, someone's got to host, someone's got to clean up, someone's got to make food because my small group got to eat. It costs money because you may have to get a sitter. It takes time where you could be doing other things, but if you desire biblical community, to go back to Jerry's sermon a couple weeks ago, it becomes your bigger yes. I want to be in biblical community. That is my yes. And so other things I'm going to have to say, well, I've already said yes to this. At our church, at all of our locations, my hope and my desire is that you would begin to live in biblical community, because there is nothing like having people push you in your relationship with Jesus Christ. This past New Year's, Jennifer and I went home, and we were laying in bed, and I just started praying, and in my prayer, I just started listing off out loud all the people that Jennifer and I have in our life that I'm thankful for. If you were to look at my net worth, it's nothing spectacular, but if you were to look at my friend worth, it is staggering. Staggering. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that, like, God has put so many unbelievably patient and kind and long-suffering people in my life so that I could say I have friends who root for me in my marriage and pray for me in my marriage and point out stupid stuff in my life so that way I have opportunities to do more ministry for Jesus Christ. None of that comes easy. It comes at a cost, but it is a cost that is so worthwhile. And if you are at any of our locations and not operating in biblical community, I want that to change this weekend. I'm wanting you to actually say, yes, I'm going to be a part of a biblical community. I'm going to make my home a biblical community. I'm going to start making that a small group with my family. I'm going to be part of a biblical community with other believers. Here's one of the things I put out in front of our campus pastors this week. I asked them, what do we need at all of our locations? And they all said, we need leaders who would lead. We had over 1,000 baptisms, and we want to clap for that and cheer for that, but who will come alongside them? They're infants. Who will come alongside them and say, I'll raise them up. I'll show them the way of the Lord. I'll stop being in a small group, and I'll start leading a small group. I'll stop being a part of a D group, and I'll start leading a D group. And if we get this right, church, there'll be nothing that'll stop us. We're moving to a time of decision.
Grand earths quake before, moved by the sound of his voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken from my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, be it for me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see, and this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. It is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and winds still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and winds still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and winds still know His name. The waves and winds still know His name. It is well with my soul. It is surround me with song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone, and I'm no longer slave to fear, and I am a child of God. I'm no longer slave to fear, and I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer slave to fear, and I am a child of God. I'm no longer slave to fear, and I am a child of God.
Jesus first created communion, he did it surrounded by people who he loved and who loved him. Inside of this biblical community, God created a moment where we can reflect on his sacrifice and prepare for his return together as one. Watching online can feel like you're all alone, watching through a screen at someone else's service, but that's not our goal. Our goal is for our online service to treat it like any other campus, as a body of believers joining in community each and every week to worship God, to create that biblical community inside of our service, as well as to equip you with the means to create community inside of your own home. So as we move to this time of communion, spend some time talking with God about how you can create a better biblical community in your life. Let's go to him together. Thank you for coming and being a part of the Crossing today. If you're new or wanting to get more involved online, make an account. Doing so is very easy and will allow you and I to create a better relationship. So you're not just a username or a number, but a person wanting to grow deeper in their faith. There's two buttons I want to point you to, and those are the Give button above me and the Prayer button that's below me. If you need prayer for anything, or just want to chat privately, use the Request Prayer button, and we can start praying or chatting privately together. And the other is the Give button, and this is where you get the opportunity to give your life over to the Lordship of Christ through tithing. Once again, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week.